So, are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, great. So what we're going to talk about now are the components of the nephron, and as you all learned about in class, or you're going to learn about, the nephron is the functional unit of the kidney. Alright, so what we're looking at here is one unit, or one nephron, and what we'll do is we'll go through some of the blood flow patterns and then also the flow of the filtrate as it goes through the nephron and then ultimately is going to leave the kidney. So the first thing we'll talk about are some of the arteries. Blood flow will be coming in this direction, coming into here, and your blood vessel that comes into what's called the Bowman's capsule, and the Bowman's capsule is represented by this white circle, this cross-section of a white circle. The one arriving, so remember that arrive starts with the letter A. This is your afferent artery, because it's arriving to the Bowman's capsule. So your afferent artery. Inside the Bowman's capsule you'll see a lot of these cross-sections. This structure inside of the Bowman's capsule, and it's these darker red and some yellow tint, this is called the glomerulus. And the glomerulus is surrounded by the Bowman's capsule. Okay. I'm going to go back here and just correct something. That I call this an artery. You need to know this as the afferent arteriole. I said artery before, but this is the afferent arteriole. And as I said, A arrives. And then the arteriole that leaves the glomerulus or exits the glomerulus in Bowman's capsule. Think of the letter E. This is the efferent arteriole. So again, the afferent arrives and the efferent exits. Okay. The other blood vessels that you need to know in this model are all of the blood vessels that you see, this web network surrounding some of the tubes. And you just need to know that the red ones in this entire area are called peritubular capillaries. So everything down in this area are peritubular capillaries. Okay, so we talked about the blood flow itself. Now we're going to talk about some of the structures that you see here in white. So I mentioned that the glomerulus sits inside of this round structure called the Bowman's capsule. And once fluids are filtrated out of the blood, they start their journey out of the Bowman's capsule, and the first area that they're going to travel through, and if we'll follow my pointer, it starts here, and it's going to continue this way, out and around, just to about this point. So this structure is called the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, you could also, I believe, on your upcoming practicum, you could write the three letters PCT, and PCT stands for proximal convoluted tubule. So that's again from starting here and flowing here and ending about here. Now, once this area comes, you'll see this long structure that dips down, does a nice hairpin turn, and then comes back up again. This area is called the loop of Henle, and Henle is spelled H-E-N-L-E, so that's the loop of Henle. And then once past the loop of Henle, we continue up, and you start seeing it getting a little thicker again. The diameter gets a little larger. This then becomes your distal convoluted tubule. And distal convoluted tubule, you can write the three letters DCT for your practicum. So again, we'll start again. Here's the Bowman's capsule. Inside of the Bowman's capsule is the glomerulus. Then we have the PCT, or proximal convoluted tubule, that transitions into the loop of Henle. The loop of Henle then transitions into the distal convoluted tubule. And then your fluids ultimately are going to dump into this long, straight duct. And this is called your collecting duct. Alright, so that takes care of the blood flow as well as the path of the filtrate in your nephron. Okay. Why don't we come over, we're going to come over to these models, just so again I can quickly show you. On this model we'll just point out a few of the things. So you'll see that all of these round circles represent one of the Bowman's capsules, and this is just the external view. you'll see that this one and this one, you've been given a nice cross section. So then inside of the Bowman's capsule, you'll see that this network is called the glomerulus. And we could follow the tubes again. So the tube that leaves the Bowman's capsule, the first segment, is called the proximal convoluted tubule. Transitions into the loop of Henle, which then dips into the medullary pyramid, is what this area is. And then we're back out into the cortex. It becomes the distal convoluted tubule, and then ultimately into the collecting duct. Okay. So let's look over here. This is just a large model of the spherical structure that you see in white is the Bowman's capsule. Inside of the Bowman's capsule, you'll see the glomerulus. Coming into and arriving in the glomerulus is the afferent arteriole. And the one that's exiting the glomerulus is the efferent arteriole. As we talked about the Bowman's capsule, the first tube or first portion of the tube that leaves the Bowman's capsule, this is going to be just one small segment of the proximal convoluted tubule. And then from there we talked about how the pathway goes to the loop of Henle, and then it's going to arrive back through, or it's going to come back through the distal convoluted tubule, which is what this is a cross-section is of on this side of the model. So again, proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule. Okay, so that takes care of these models. The last thing,
oh crap.
yep, we just need to just review this also. This is just a bigger model so you can see everything there. So let's talk about these models. So your kidneys are of course going to be here and here. Your adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. Some of the blood vessels, you have your descending aorta here in red. Your inferior vena cava coming up this way. You'll see that in blue coming from the kidneys are your renal veins. The red ones going to the kidneys, again, before it branches out, it would be considered your renal artery. And then once that branching takes place, these are each called segmental arteries. Coming from the kidney, we talked about the ureter. And so one on this side, it's in white coming down. And the other one on this side, these are both ureters. And the ureters are going to empty out into the urinary bladder. Inside the urinary bladder, you could see that there is a three-pointed structure that I'm tracing out with my pointer. You need to know this as the trigone. And then leaving the urinary bladder is the urethra. And that will take care of those models for you.